Hey out there, and welcome to my very first show of Slick About You. You might remember me from my former show, PE Slick Podcast, and Soaps Past, but this time it's a little different. I'm going to talk with people who's been on different journeys and have kind of bettered themselves into where they are today. And I'm thrilled to have my first guest come on, but first, here's a commercial break.
You know, everyone in Dallas thinks you get rich in oil, but those people are dodos. That stuff is only good for preserving sardines. No, I got a better way. Mueller Light yogurt, virtually fat-free and in 3 terrific flavors. Oh, absolutely super. Mueller Light, the life of the party. Excuse me, I gotta go now. To a meeting of the yogurt barons.
Mueller Light from Müller.
Joining me live this week is a man named Mr. Eric McCoy. He has a good book out called Pain, Failure, and Misery. He has a podcast himself called How Wild Clean. And I'm thrilled to have him on as my first guest on my new show, Slick, A Better You. Let me bring him aboard. Hey, Eric.
How are you, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing good, real good. Thank you for coming aboard. You're my first guest on this new podcast show that I'm doing that's called Slick, A Better You. I used to have we talked before, but I had another show called PE Slick Podcast and Soaps Pass, but I wanted to do something new and different with this show. So I'm glad you're my first guest.
Yeah, this is great, man.
Where are you from, Eric?
I live in LA County. So yeah, LA County.
Okay. What kind of what kind of goals or like what was like your influence growing up when you was a kid? Like hobbies.
You know that, ironically enough, I had none. You know, I actually, I grew up with great parents. I had, they were very supportive. They, we weren't hurting financially. I mean, I grew up, fairly in good standings. Lived in great neighborhoods, great places. But I always felt completely disconnected with everybody. I mean, I had no real goals, no real dreams. I felt I was, I kind of look at myself in the past as being, depressed. I had a lot of anxiety. I was very shy, and so I kind of went down a different path.
Yeah. So let me see. So when you was growing up, I know what you just said, but did you ever envision that, years later you would have a book out or that you'd be doing a podcast show that what you have going on right now?
Absolutely not. I gotta honestly say, writing a book was a task in and of itself. And I honestly started the book and some just drove me. I mean, I had such a passion for sharing a message, that I wanted to get out. And and I think about it today, and I kind of think like, my God, I don't even know how I really got through all that stuff, and was
Right.
able to write a 300 something page book,
I forgot to ask at the beginning of the show. How are you and your family holding up during this pandemic going on?
Yeah, we're doing great, actually. My wife's neither one of us lost our jobs. I'm still a counselor. I'm also a teacher for a school. I work for a school that's working to be that teaches for people working to become substance abuse counselors. And my wife still has her job, so financially we're okay, and luckily, thank God. And none of us got COVID.
Right.
Thank God. And we actually both have gotten our first vaccine shot. So
That's good.
and I don't have an arm growing out my ear, so I'm thinking it as we're all kind of unsure on how safe those are, right?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about them. Yeah. So Eric, you've had quite a interesting journey in your life, and you was able to turn that around. I mean, what exactly have you learned about yourself that made you go from where you was at in your life, dealing with substance problems, to where you are today?
Well, that's kind of how much time you got. So
Take your time.
What's that?
I was saying, take your time.
So so going back and looking at my life, I was always trying to figure out something. I mean, I didn't, it's kind of in life, like I really didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't really know what I wanted in life. And again, going back to that concept, I was depressed, I was anxious, I didn't really feel, I think drugs for me were a self-medicating concept. Methamphetamine was my drug of choice. And and it's crazy because I look at it today, and it's, everybody does everything they do for a reason.
Right.
And drugs are no different, it worked for me. I was, I started doing it. I had energy, I had focus, I had concentration. I felt good. I felt energetic. And who doesn't want that, And so, I mean, I remember doing it, and I thought literally, like, everybody should be doing this, and I didn't see the downside to it. I didn't see any downside to it. And so that's what obviously led me down that path. I had a lot of years of a lot of crazy stuff that went on. In 2002, actually 2001, I got arrested 4 times in 6 months. I was looking at 15 years in prison. And so I was at that point in time, I eventually kind of was forced to stay in custody and look at myself, and custody for me was the greatest thing that ever happened. It kept me locked down, which is what I needed. I needed to be sort of held down. And I really started looking at myself. I started looking at, my God, what am I doing with my life? What's happening here? And so, I luckily didn't get 15 years, but I did do, quite a bit of custody time, and got out, went into rehab, and that's where I kind of made a decision that, I want to do something different. I want to do something different. And because of my past and my history, all I knew was drugs.
Right.
I knew either doing it, selling it, and that's like all I knew, and so I had a counselor that said, maybe you should look at getting into this field and helping people. And I thought, my God, this is probably the best thing I can do. And so that's what sort of led me into, going to school to get into this field. But as far as myself, I had low self-esteem. I was, again, I like growing up, a lot of people talk about like growing up, how, they get made fun of for being overweight. Right. Well, I was actually horribly thin growing up. It had nothing to do with drugs. I mean, when I was really young, I was very, very thin. I mean, I'm still thin today, but and so I was made fun of a lot at that time. I got into a lot of fights, and I hated myself.
Right.
And so that was one of the biggest things that I worked on, was my self-esteem. Really looking at, my God, if I want to get out of this lifestyle, I'm going to need to care about myself,
Right.
take care of myself, and find that person that is me, like find really who I am. That life of in that drug life, is you lose yourself. You're almost like a different person. All your values, all your morals, everything goes away. I was committing an average of 10 residential burglaries a night, during, periods of that time, right? Breaking
Right.
houses. I mean, it was it was credit card fraud, check fraud, and everything about the life was like, okay, I need to make sure that I have my supply. I need to make sure that I have my drugs. That was all that mattered. But you lose yourself. You become somebody that you're not, because that's not me. I mean, none of that stuff was me.
Right.
And so, that was something that I realized that became sort of a very important concept, was that I need to find me and who I am as a person, and be me. And that's when I found life to be a lot easier. Just to be yourself,
Right. Okay. So is that kind of how your book and podcast came about? Because I did check out your podcast, How Wild Clean, and I love the show. I listened to the guests that you had come on. How did that show come about for you?
So the book came about in how we always talk about like negative things can happen and they can actually become very positive, right? You never really know. Something bad something could look really bad and turn out to be very good, right? And so in 2018, I was a partner of a rehab program, and all of that, there was all kinds of insurance fraud. There was all kinds of stuff going on in the industry that was, I hated. I mean, it was horrible what was happening in the industry. Clients were being paid to go to rehab. People were getting loaded to send them to, I don't know if you heard about all that stuff. Did you hear about any of that? It was absolutely insane. And so the program that I had, I wasn't willing to get involved in that stuff. And because of that, we ended up closing, right? And so we closed the rehab, and I'd always wanted to write a book. I've always had a lot of people say, hey, write a book, about your life, what you went through. And I've had an interesting life, ran off with the Grateful Dead for a lot of years, did that whole scene, a lot of, LSD and, that whole, that life, yeah. And so that program closed, and I literally just sat down and I just started typing, and so that's sort of how that came about, in writing that. And the podcast sort of came about during COVID. I literally was like, okay, we're sort of locked down. I'm learning a lot about Zoom. I'm teaching on Zoom. Everybody's Zooming, right? So that's actually how the podcast came about. Was here's a platform, here's a way that I can actually get messages out. And my podcast is really designed to help fight that stigma of substance abuse, to get people to realize that highness is not a property of drugs. It's a property of people. We don't get high on drugs. Highness comes from me. So when I study, physiological effects, that highness comes from me. And
Right.
so all drugs do is they manipulate my own chemicals. And so maybe I can find ways to do it without drugs. And there's no side effects that way. And so that was kind of the premise of High Wall Clean, the title and stuff. And so, yeah, I wanted to create a platform for people that could tell their stories, and I have had a lot of great guests, and I've tried to stay away from, so many of the podcasts out there are focused on like the entertainment industry and, the actors and the musicians and all this stuff. Right. And so I've tried to kind of stay away from that. Now I do have some, Jeremy Jackson, was, Baywatch, Wes Gear, who's, Rock to Recovery, the guitarist on Korn. And so, I mean, I've had some. I just did another one recently with this guy from DI, punk band in Orange County.
Right.
And so that one will be coming up soon. And so, but I've had a lot of great guests. And so part of my thing was like, I want people to be able to tell their story, and really fight that stigma. We need to get rid of this war on drugs. This war on drugs is absurd. It's not a war on drugs. It's a war on people. Right. And, it's and so that, so those are kind of the big, topics that I really am sort of fighting,
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you this. So, with everything that's been going on in the world right now, I have to talk about politics. I leave that out of my show, but like, that's the main. Even in real life, work wherever, we're not talking about politics. That's something I'll leave out. I'm not a news junkie or none of that stuff. But with the COVID and the struggles in the world, I mean, I normally ask people this. I wanted to ask you this. Where do you see the world going these days? I mean, it's just so much going on these days right now, and I think COVID really has changed the world a lot since last year.
Yeah, things are getting ugly, in a lot of areas. I mean, even beside the COVID stuff, I mean, and I mean, I'll say something on politics, the things that we've seen in the last 4 years, with Trump and, all of that kind of craziness, the racism, has been just like in your face type stuff. I mean, I'm baffled every time I turn on the news, and you just see these stories of all this, just like, what is going on,
Right.
And, I don't understand the Republican Party at all. It's just, to me, baffling. I know you don't really want to talk about this stuff, but it's
it's fun. It's cool.
But it's scary right now. I think I mean, we look at with the substance abuse stuff. I mean, this is a worldwide epidemic. I mean, the United States alone, I mean, we're looking at, last year, I mean, we probably had close to 80,000 people die of a drug overdose last year. You had probably 95,000 people that died of alcohol related something. And then of course you can go on bigger with even smoking and stuff like that. I am not a fan of prohibition. I think everything should be legalized, because criminalization it actually creates the problems. You look at all the crime out there and all the murders and all that kind of stuff. That has so much more to do with the legality of the drugs, not the drugs themselves.
Right.
And so it's and again, this is a worldwide thing. I'm fighting for even like safe houses, places for people to be able to go and safely just do their dope. Canada actually has a place like that. I've actually been reaching out to this guy, and I'm hoping to have him on my podcast. This guy from Scotland, who actually has a truck basically and goes around and if people are using drugs and they need a clean needle, he's got that for them. He's got providing safe alternatives for them. But yeah, I think the world's going in an odd place,
Right.
Strange stuff, man.
Yeah, it is. Now, have you ever gotten like since you've been doing your podcast and your book has come out, have you ever gotten like a good fan reaction, somebody who loved your show or read your book who gave you like an interesting review back?
I mean, I've had a lot of reviews on the book, from different people. Some of them are posted up on Amazon, where you can purchase the book. And I've got a lot of feedback, from a lot of different people. And it's cool because, I didn't write the book for money purposes, I mean, and a lot of people out there, they write books and like, oh, I'm going to get rich off this book, stuff like that. That was never my intention,
Right.
And, for me, the feedback that I have gotten, and a lot of them actually are from people that are in treatment, that have actually read it, that are currently in treatment. I've had a lot of clinicians read it too, and a lot of great feedback. I mean, they, some of them almost literally look at it like, wow, this is, like steps that I put in place to help you improve. That book is not a directive book. Like the 12-step program, you got a 12-step program that is very directive. If you don't get a sponsor work steps, go to meetings, you're going to get loaded. And that's what the message of the 12-step program is. My book is not about that. My book offers ideas. It is part autobiography, tells my story, but then it goes into, it's actually broken in 3 parts. The first one is pain, failure, and misery. The second part is a step into the unknown. And the third part is the stepping stones to success. And I mean, chapters in there about learning to think for ourselves. We can't think through the minds of other people and be effective. So it's about learning to think for ourselves, learning, again, who am I, learning, looking at, my goals, my dreams, my passions, my visions. Those are things I can't tell people, but my goal is to get people to think. It's time we start to think, and it's time that people start to look for what's going to work for them. We have, I mean, today with the, in Cal, where are you at?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
I used to live in Laurel, Maryland. Do you know where that is?
Yep, I'm a delivery driver, so I go out there from time to time. Yep.
Yeah, 95 to 98, I lived in, we lived in Woodstock, Maryland, my ex-girlfriend, and which is way out in the boonies, and then we lived in Laurel, Maryland I lived in Laurel, Maryland for a few years, but anyway, so, California has what are called MAP programs. So we have what's called medically assisted treatment programs. And so these are based on, like maintenance. So you got Suboxone maintenance, methadone maintenance, things that, and a lot of people hate these concepts. I think personally that if it works for you, do it. What's the problem? That's what really gets me. And I do talk about this in my book a little bit because it kills me when you have people that, are pressing upon somebody else what they want for them.
Right.
It's not about my life. This is your life. I'll guide you. I'll direct you. I'll help you. I'll be there. I'll support you. But I'm not telling you, it's not about where I want you to be in life. It's about you figuring out where you want to go. It's your life, I mean, I'm a big fan of education and self-responsibility. I can can teach you things. I can tell you, how to make good decisions in life, right? What impulse control is, how you do that. But then you know what? It's up to you to do it. I can teach it, but it's up to you to actually do it, and that's kind of one of my big premises too, is that it's not a directive book at all. It's just that guide. The end of it actually has a workbook, and so the very end of the book, there's a workbook that's in it for people to make it their own. It's got stuff on motivation, commitment, raising your beliefs, self-esteem, relapse prevention, anger management. There's a discharge planning thing at the very end, where you get to kind of plan your recovery. What is going to work for you, and that's important to me, but the problem is clinicians don't like that. I mean, there's so many clinicians out there that, just they irritate me big time, but just because they're so about, what they need them or want them to do.
Right.
Why? This is your life. This is, this isn't mine. I'm going to go home and I'm going to sleep, so we need to just teach people how to be healthy. And then it's up to them though, and so that's kind of that was one of the big premises,
right. Okay. So this question might be a little left field, but I was going to ask you, what kind of music do you listen to?
Music. Well, my favorite band of all time is the Grateful Dead. So so I guess you could say within the Grateful Dead, blues, rock and roll. They got sort of that little country type stuff. Jerry Garcia was bluegrass. So they really had that full genre of music. But yeah, the Grateful Dead. I from 91 to 95, whenever they hit the West Coast, I was off and running and going to shows and traveling around and living that hippie life, free love, right?
Yeah.
And,
91. That was the year I was born.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I went to my first show in 91, and just fell in love with it. It's something, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. Anything like them,
Yeah. So Eric, for those that are watching or will be watching my show, what can we look forward to hear from you or see from you going throughout the rest of the year? As far as your show, is there plans for a new book? I mean, what is your plans for the remainder of this year?
Yeah, I've been pondering writing another book, and I'm not sure on the title exactly, but it's going to be something related around like stop seeing with your eyes, right? Because it's all based on the premise of what I see is not always what's real. That we need, so many things of what we see is based on our perception, our biases, our hatred, our whatever's going on in my head is going to alter what I see, and so and actually I've actually started a first chapter on it. It's really a crazy first chapter, and it's actually a very cool, great experience I had on LSD. That sort of leads into what I was going to kind of get into that topic. The podcast, I'm definitely rolling. It's crazy. Honestly, I never really thought that the podcast was going to didn't know what was going to happen with it, and it is just, within the short period of time, I got a lot of subscribers, I got views. People are watching it. I even had a place that Building Beyond Me that sort of came on board and created my website, and so now I'm kind of stuck, I think, doing it. You know, but it's been fun, man. And as far as the podcast, yeah, I'm just going to keep going. I'm trying to reach out to people that have different stories, different ideas, different things that, if I have one guest on my show that may help one person, then it was worth it, and that's kind of the way I see it. There's everybody that says, what's the solution? There isn't one. There's ideas and there's solutions for you, but your solution may be different than mine, and so that's where I get stuck on I want ideas. I don't want solutions, because if we can get ideas out there for people, they may be able to take some of this, and it may be something that can become good and great for them, So yeah, I'm going to kind of keep going with that. I got some guests lined up that I'm pretty excited about, just good stories and just different tools that people can grab onto.
Yeah. Well, Eric, I really have admired your story tonight, and from what I've read, because like you said earlier, myself have been through an interesting road. Earlier you mentioned about bullying. I've been down that road as well, about my weight and all that as a kid, and even in my high school years. So whenever I hear somebody else's story, I'm always intrigued and moved, and I'm always happy whenever I'm hearing somebody's story and how what they went through changed and they ended up becoming a better them, like the name of my show, a better you.
Yeah,
so I'm thankful that you was able to take the time to come out and talk and come on my show today.
Absolutely, man. Anytime I can, get out and share something and maybe reach somebody, that's what this is about. I appreciate what you do, man. I think you're just another one of those people that is trying to get a message out there and trying to maybe help somebody.
Absolutely.
And that's what I highly respect that. I think you're a great man for that.
Thank you. I very appreciate it. Yeah, honestly, everybody needs some kind of motivation, some kind of 'cause you never know what anybody's going through. That's actually the name of my own book that I'm working on myself. That's the name of it itself, called Motivation. So I'm working on that to get that out soon.
Very good, man. Yeah, books are a lot of work.
Yeah, I found that out. Somebody gave me a proposal about the framework, and you gotta do this, you gotta do. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know all that. I thought it was that, boom, done with it. Nope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Eric, before I let you go, is there any last minute advice you want to give somebody that's going through something with abuse or substance abuse or addiction or what's going on right now in the world with COVID, or just in general? Any last minute advice you want to give somebody today?
I would say, for people that are out there struggling, with substance abuse, it is difficult. I mean, I truly, truly understand the power behind addiction, and if somebody is listening to this and is struggling and is going down that path, reach out to somebody, we sometimes need that in the very beginning, anybody can, I love to say this, but anybody can always reach out to me. My email address is McCoy, so EMCCOY at highwallclean.org. And anybody can always reach out to me. Also, if people have great stories out there that want to come on my podcast, I'd love to send me a message, and I'd love to talk to you and maybe do that. But I think the biggest thing is, if you are really struggling, you probably need to ask for help. That's the toughest thing for a lot of people, is just to ask for help. I need help. And it's scary, letting that substance go is scary. It's a scary thing. I mean, and especially for those of us that have done it multiple times, we know what's going to happen. It's depression, it's pain, it's uncomfortable. It's, the detox or the withdrawal stuff is difficult. It does require courage, it requires that courage and reaching out and asking for help. And then you got to give yourself time. You got to give your brain an opportunity to repair itself. But there are people out there, reach out to you, you got, this is kind of what you're about, there's people out there that people can reach out to and talk to and get some advice, get some help, and because it's about learning to love ourselves. It really is, learning to love ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Eric, you hit it right on the nose, man. You've given a lot of powerful message here tonight. I'm sure somebody has heard this and will reach out to you. Are you like a motivational speaker as well?
I do speak. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I want to say something else real quick, and this is one of my quotes I put in my book, and I always love to say this, but no matter where you have been or what you have done, you can do anything you want if you're willing to fight for it. And that is the power. When I look at my life, I mean, I'm a 6-time convicted felon. In 2009, I opened up my own program. I had a business partner with financial, opened up and we did alternative sentencing. This was in the same county that all of my legal stuff happened, right? I had the narcotics task force that was tracking me down. I got arrested twice by them. They were looking for me, consistently looking for me, selling dope, selling drugs, all this other stuff, right? But 2009, I was clean and sober. I had years clean and sober. And I decided to open a program and focus on alternative sentencing, right? And this was so powerful to me because this required, that I go in and get in and start to have relationships with judges, with district attorneys, right? I had to fight to get clearance to get into the jail in Orange County because of my history. And I figured out that as long as I don't give up, I fight, I keep moving, no matter where you've been or what you've done, you can do anything you want if you're willing to fight for it. It all panned out, everything. I ended up, I was got to a place where I was going literally into the chambers with the judge, with the district attorneys, with the private attorneys, and fighting for the guy that's sitting in custody to get out into a program. 6-time convicted felon, and everything's doable, You got to fight for it, though. But anyways, I love that. I always want to say that people get clean and sober because of what they don't want, but people stay clean and sober because of what they do want. That's what we're trying to do. And get excited. Got to get excited about it. I used to think being clean and sober, life's gonna suck. Life's gonna be horrible. Oh my God, and again, I've learned over the years that highness, I get high every day. I just don't do it through this. I don't do it through sticking a needle in my arm. I get high today by talking to people like you. I get high today by being with my wife, going out and we go do escape rooms, those escape rooms. You done those?
Never done those.
Zip lining. I'll go zip lining, you can go skiing, you can go do all these things. You're getting high. It's the same chemical that we manipulated with drugs, but we can do it clean and sober. I get high every day. And that's the other stigma I'm trying to break is this whole concept of highness. There's nothing wrong with getting high, but we do it, but I can do it clean.
Absolutely.
So, anyway.
You sound like a buddy of mine. He says that, he doesn't get high with that, but he'll say that, hey man, I'm getting high on life. I'm out here learning something new all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I get it. I go and do groups with clients sometimes, and and I always bring energy. I mean, that's one of the things for me. It's like I always want to bring this energy, because I always feel like energy is gonna inspire them, and I'll go in sometimes and I'll be like, you guys excited about this, getting them all pumped up, And,
you're right.
I did one episode. You got to check it out. It's called Let's Get High, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go through this just crazy laughing episode. One of the greatest ways to get all that stuff going in your head, a good belly laugh, laugh until you're purple. I did it literally on the podcast too. I'm like laughing so hard. I'm like turning purple and
I gotta check that one out. I'm going to definitely check that one out.
It's pretty funny. My son watched it too, and he goes, "Oh my God, you just look insane." Yeah.
Oh, man.
You're totally crazy. You've lost it.
Man, that was the name of the show, right? Let's Get High. So y'all was just getting high on laughter, having fun. So I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, usually it makes people laugh. You definitely got to check it out. That's kind of the, it's like I always say, like the contagiousness of laugh. I'll do that. With clients, I'd go into groups sometime, and clients, and I'd just start laughing, and laughing and laughing and the next thing you know, they're all laughing. What am I laughing about? Nothing. Just laughing. And then all of a sudden, you got all these people laughing. And it's powerful.
Well, they say laughing's good. Smiling and laughing is good for you. It eases the tension or whatever that you have balled up inside, and it relieves you. So that is a good thing when you come. Even if you're laughing at something that nobody else understands, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. I know you're in California. I was going to ask you, is it snowing down there?
No. We had a storm maybe a couple of weeks ago. Our mountains. I don't live obviously in the mountains, but we got Big Bear, and we got Wrightwood, and some mountain cities. So there is snow up there right now. But we have literally had hardly any precipitation here at all. We had this morning it rained a little bit. It's all clear now. We had one storm that came through maybe a month ago, and before that, we hadn't had anything in like 6 months.
Okay. Well, see, that's why
clear blue skies.
See, that's why I need to come down there, to escape from all this snow on this side of town. We've been getting snow on and off this week, and they're calling for snow on Sunday. Well, ice storm around here. I'm like, not a fan of it.
Yeah, I think this weekend we're gonna be at like 75 degrees, 80.
Oh, jealousy here. Oh man, Eric, I want to thank you for coming aboard my show, being my first guest on my new show, Slick, A Better You. You are obviously a better you. You've come a long way. I'm proud of what you've done and what you plan to be doing, and I send you good luck on your journey. And I hope you can come back eventually. I love having guests come back on twice.
Love to, man. Let me know anytime. Thank you absolutely for having me here. And if anybody wants to check out my podcast, it's highwallclean.org. And again, anybody can contact me at McCoy@highwallclean.org. And I respond to all emails. So, if anybody's struggling, if anybody has a great story they want to tell, please reach out to me. And I thank you all very much for having me on today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you have a blessed day, Eric. Shout out to you and your family, and stay safe.
All right. Thanks, man. You too. And let's talk soon. All right.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
All right. Have a good weekend, man.
You too, Eric. See you. Let's see. Okay, let me get this here. Okay. Okay, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Those who have been watching. Like I said earlier, this is my new show, Slick, A Better You. I'm going to have a different guests come on all the time. Stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. I'm just getting started with this, and I hope you come along for the ride. Thank you. Have a blessed night now. See you.